name is Andrew Himmler, and I play guitar for Luis and the Wildfires.
My name is Luis Herrera.
Well, my name is Victor Mendez. I am the bass player as well as the band leader.
My name's Ricky McCann, Irish. I lived in London for a long time. I'm a little bit older than those guys, and I've been playing the drums ever since I was a little boy.
We're just four guys that really just want to fuck shit up. And if we can do it lyrically and musically, that's what we're doing.
Well, Luis and the Wildfires is a band that pretty much started, I'm going to say 4 years ago, maybe close to 5.
It's based on the idea that, you know, rock and roll is king, and we're going to play some good old-fashioned music.
We want to combine the feeling of real rock and roll music with all these genres and all the eras, from 50s to 70s to rock and roll to rockabilly to 70s punk.
Luis and the Wildfires are a band based in Hollywood, California, and they play with influences of roots music, American, and some people may call it rockabilly, but really it's rock and roll in a wider vein. It incorporates 60s garage type beat, and also influences from the 50s as well.
We started off as more of a late 50s, early 60s rock and roll band, and now we're still a rock and roll band, but we're going more into like I want to say the early 60s sound.
So it's something that you can't really pigeonhole as one or the other, but if you like anything to do with rock and roll music, you probably would enjoy watching the band. And there are various ages in the band, quite young to quite old, and so that also adds to the influences of the different members of the band.
We want to just have a good laugh and express ourselves and fuck, have a beer.
We just play rock and roll. Yeah, well, this band actually started with a completely different group of people. At first it was myself, Luis, and another guitar player and another drummer. And it started kind of by accident. Like one day, myself, Luis, and another person were just sitting in a garage, and we're just playing music. And I actually played something on the piano, and Luis was like, "Oh wow, that sounds cool, like play it again." So I played it again, and Luis actually started singing to the little piano thing, which later became one of our most popular songs now. And so we, you know, by accident he formed a song, or he made a song, and then, you know, we all kind of got excited and we're like, wow, maybe we should start a band. And at the time we were all in different bands. You know, Luis, I was in another rockabilly band, and Luis had another band called Little Luis and the Wild Teens. And so anyways, so we got together, we, you know, messed around with a couple of things, and he wrote another song and another song. And before we knew it, we had a few songs, and we started Luis and the Wildfires.
This version of the Wildfires is not the original version of the Wildfires. I guess I'll give you a quick story. The original Wildfires, it was always me and Victor. Victor had another band at some point. Well, we met each other because of Wild Records, which is a record label. And Victor and I actually, we became friends somehow. Victor would come to the shows that I was doing with another band. Got to meet him, we got to talking, he was a musician. That band that I had before broke up, and Victor had another band, and the drummer that I had went with him. I went with him in his new band, and I would go to the rehearsals, and I would say, hey, you know, let's just jam, let's do something. And next thing you know, we wrote a couple songs, and the manager said, you know, Reb Kennedy of Wild Records said, hey, let's record what you have. And by accident, we became the Wildfires, and we went on for a couple of years. The guitar player we had at that time was doing different types of music, and he was doing a lot of different things, so he got really busy with other projects, so he says, I have to go. He went ahead and left, and we found Andrew, who was in another band on Wild Records, and he jumped with us. And same thing happened with the drummer. The drummer got really busy, and he went on to go do other things, and we picked up Ricky. So now we have the current Wildfires, but it's always been just Victor and I. And I think we all look eye to eye in what we're doing because we just want to play rock and roll music from the heart. We're not trying to be authentic. We're not trying to be something we're not. We are rock and roll guys that love music and just want to play and, like I said, fuck shit up.
I joined, I'd say, a year and a half ago. Luis and me, who are good friends because I play on other bands on the label, are good friends. We're sitting inside of Denny's, and he's having problems with guitar players. And he says, which he only actually had one other guitar player, but and he says, Andrew, you want to be my guitar player? And I'm like, ha 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 ha. I thought he was joking. I said yes.
About 6 or 7 years ago, I was asked to join a band, a young girl singer from Los Angeles called Little Giselle, with a wonderful big blues shouting kind of voice, and she was on the Wild label, so I was playing with her. So the guys in that band, they saw me play and they knew about me, and the guy that runs the label, his name's Reb Kennedy, and I knew him in London because we were friends in London before. He moved first and then I moved after him about 2 years later. So he already knew me, and they saw me play quite a few times, and when they were interested in getting a new drummer to fill their gap, that's when they asked me. So they already knew me and they already knew my style. But I was actually, they probably don't know this, but I was quite flattered that they asked me because they are my favorite band in Los Angeles because of the, they're not restricted by just doing 50s style, 50s look, copying lots of covers from the 50s. I love all that music. I collect thousands and thousands of albums like that, records. But I'd like to also express the new feeling of rock and roll music, rockabilly music. So when they asked me, it was actually, I was quite flattered, really. But I pretended that it's about time they asked me because I'm so wonderful. But I didn't really think that. I was actually flattered, you know. So it's a great opportunity for me to express myself, and with no restrictions. So it's really, really good fun. Yeah, it's very good.
So there's a guitar player who's actually a friend of mine, Santiago Bermudez. He's a Mexican guy, like a lot of the guys are on the label. I'm not Mexican, as you can tell by my pale white vampire skin. But he's playing in the band with the Wildfires, and things are great, and they go all over the world, just like we're doing now. Very lucky to do. But you know, Santiago moves away in his mind musically, and there's nothing wrong with that. You know, so Santiago goes his own way, and the Wildfires go their own way, and there's no bad blood. There's no struggle really. It's just a realization that, you know, I was into something the other day, and now I'm not. You know, I'm not feeling it so much, and so I'll move on. And Santiago did, and I was very lucky to be at the right place at the right time in a Denny's on what is it? It's in Pasadena, California, and there's a song about it. It's on Colorado Boulevard. Little girl in Colorado. Boulevard. Anyway, it's a very famous street, and I'm sitting there in the Denny's across the street from the bar that Luis has frequented at, the Colorado bar, and he asks me, and it's a huge moment in my life because I'm here as not only the Wildfires guitar player, but as a huge Luis and the Wild Teens, Luis and the Wildfires, Wild Records fan. So playing in this band, a lot of people don't realize, is a huge honor for me, and I thank all my lucky stars every day.
I've been living in America for 10 years, but I come back every year 6 or 7 times to play music, play all the big festivals. But I'm excited about this particular band because I'm not just doing a job like a session drummer playing what they want. I can play whatever I want, and it seems to fit with what they like, and it's bordering on 70s punk because of the excitement and the energy, but it's rock and roll in a new way. And I think at this time in the way music is going, it could fit in with the young people as well, which is quite exciting to have young people come to your gig.
Little Luis and those Wild Teens was my first band that I had. Yeah, I guess funny story about that is that it was a very accidental band also, just like the Wildfires. Back in Los Angeles in the mid 90s, there wasn't much Mexican Americans playing music, or in the rock and roll scene that I remember. And I grew up with rock and roll music from Mexico and Spanish and stuff like that. So I had a previous band before Los Wild Things, my teenage band, and we used to do nothing but Spanish. That broke up, obviously, we grew up and everything, and we went ahead and, we broke up, and then I met a promoter in Los Angeles and said, hey, I see more Mexican American kids coming to rock and roll shows. I'm thinking of bringing in this old guy named Lalo Guerrero. He's back from the swing scene, but we all know who he is. He's a very famous man. And I said, oh, fuck, please, let me open up. Let me get in there. But I didn't have a band, so I immediately made phone calls to friends of mine. Do you have a friend? Because I knew a friend that had another friend that was a bass player, and then I had a friend that had another friend that was a guitar player, and I finally met him. I said, do you guys want to play Mexican rock and roll? And they said, yeah, sure, okay, whatever. We met for the first time, how's it going? Let's rehearse. And we got booked for the show. So they're like, we have a month to come up with a band. And very last minute, we came up with the name Little Luis, because I was a lot skinnier. So I was younger, smaller, and skinnier, so I was Little Luis. Y Los Wild Teens, and the Wild Teens. And we did that show. It went fantastic for us. The promoter says, I have a friend in San Francisco. Why don't you go ahead and give him a call. I told him already about you, and our second show was in San Francisco with a man named Reb Kennedy, who used to put small rock and roll clubs out there called under Wild Promotions. And he enjoyed our show. He's because we were pretty wild, and back in those days there was not really much rock and roll. There was mainly just strictly rockabilly and western swing and hillbilly. And he says, I like what you're doing. I'm going to be moving to Hollywood in a couple months. When I get down there, I want to call you. I want to do a record. I want to start a record label.
Overall, it's rock and roll. Like we're a late '50s rock and roll band with a little touch of like a garage sound and like an early '60s feel. So, in little words, I think that's how I would describe, which is, in my opinion, which is rock and roll, late 50s, early 60s rock and roll.
2 months later, he called me and says, I want to come to rehearsal. I saw the rehearsal and says, I like that song and I like that song, let's go ahead and put that on record. We were like, really? Shit, we only had done like 4 shows at that point. And next thing you know, a month later, I had a record, and that was Wild Records. And Wild Records started. After that, Omar Romero from String Poppers came around, and Dustin Chance and the All Nighters came out, and now we have Wild Records. But yes, it was the first one. I was very lucky. Very lucky.
I moved to Los Angeles about 10 years ago with 2 of my very best friends. We moved to London in 1984 when rockabilly 50s music was very, very popular. It was even in the charts, the pop charts. And some records used to get to #1, like Hank Mazel's Jungle Rock was #1, and that was re-recorded at that time in the 80s. But it's an actual 50s track with a really old American artist. So rockabilly music was very popular. But if you live somewhere for a long time, you can get bored. So we decided, all our friends got married and settled down. We went to Los Angeles for one last fling of a couple of years, and that was 10 years, and everything's still swinging and everything's wonderful, and we're all still enjoying ourselves. They don't play music, my 2 friends, just me, but I come back all the time. I played the Big High Festival in Barcelona and England. I played the Hemsby and the Rockabilly Rave, the Rhythm Riot. Thousands of people come, and but with this band I'm really quite excited. I used to play with a band in Europe called the Playboys, and that was a freewheeling rock and roll thing, and I played with them for about 13 years, and they're very popular. But now with this band I can do the same thing, express myself, and it seems to fit with what they like. They had another drummer, a younger drummer before, and I think he got married, and so he had too many other commitments, and they asked me would I like to play, and so that was great for me, because I really enjoy it, and I think they like the way I play too. And we just recorded a new CD with the first time with me playing, and it's so with my influence, it's a little bit different to what they were doing before. A little bit more 60s, you know, that kind of a thing. But everything's going really, really well at the moment. It's very, very good.
I play for other bands on the label, and I started a band on the label. It was my baby. I was the original founding member. You know, that's cool. But I watched YouTube back in 2004, 2005, watching Viva Las Vegas, watching Let's Get Wild videos. You know, I see Luis. I don't know who he is. I've never met the guy in my life. I hardly even know what Wild Records is. My friend told me about him. You know how it is when your friend. Oh, you check out this website. Yeah, that's what it was to me. And I see Luis playing. Well, rip it up, shake it up now, rip it up, shit dana bana dana bana. And at the time I'm listening to the Stray Cats, and I'm listening to Eddie Cochran, which is all great, brilliant stuff in its own right. But there's nothing like rip it up, shake it up. It's not the Stray Cats. It's just it's energy in music form. It's just Red Bull on stage, you know. And I'm just like, fuck, like, oh my god. Like I acted with Luis like I would act with how common people act with Lady Gaga, or people act with Tom Cruise when he walks by. You know, and that's really how I was. And so now I get to slap Luis on the back. I get to talk to Victor Mendez, the bass player, who's also my hero. He's in Chewie and the Bobcats. It's hard to explain that what a huge fan first I am. You know, it's changed my life, Wild Records, before I even became a part of Wild Records. So I mean, I consider myself blessed. You know, I mean, I don't know what's up there. Maybe it's God or Zeus or Jesus or something. But they love me because they've sincerely given me the thing of a lifetime. I'm sitting here a few days ago, mind you, 4 days ago. I was sitting in my home in Las Vegas, Nevada. I'm watching TV just like every day, you know, boring. And now I'm here sitting in a cinema that's, I don't know, hundreds of years old, maybe. I don't know. And I'm in Belgium. You know, I'm in Brugge. I don't apologize for the Brugge. That's easy. And I'm here, and I'm so far away from home, but yet I'm at home. You know, with all my friends and you guys, everybody. It makes it such a. It's a dream, really. I feel like when I'm alive. I feel like I'm dreaming now. Yeah.
We try to. What I mean is, this new Wildfires, we all live in different places. The guitar player lives in Las Vegas. Bass player lives in Van Nuys. I live in Pasadena, and drummer lives in Hollywood. Three of us are in Southern California, even different cities in Southern California, and one in Las Vegas. So it's hard because of Andrew living in Las Vegas.
So basically when we work on music is when right before a show, or if we're going to record, then he'll drive down. He'll take like a 4-hour drive to come down and rehearse and, you know, work on music. So no, we don't rehearse and work on music all the time. It's only when we really have to, and you know, when we have to play a gig or record or stuff like that. Yeah.
We try to set up a weekend or a week, and between the day jobs, we get together for a week and we rehearse, and then maybe we don't see each other for another. Maybe the next time is when we're on tour again, or whenever the next gig is. But we try to just stay 1 week, so we don't rehearse often. But when we rehearse as much as we can, and that's how we write songs.
I do music for a living, but obviously sometimes you can't always make enough money. You have to do a separate job on the side, which I do, just delivery work. Like everybody else, you have to pay your rent. But I leave the option open to play music.
I actually work for Lufthansa, where I work. The company rebuilds landing gears for airplanes. So I do a lot of like data entry and stuff. work on blueprints and things for, you know, I just do a lot of like computer work basically. Yeah.
Which I don't have anymore. I quit my day job to play rock and roll music.
Musicians have a very love-hate relationship with day jobs. Okay, so I had a day job. And I don't want to speak too wildly about it because you can include this because it's for the government, the United States government. I worked just about 5 days ago. I worked for the TSA, which is the Transportation Security Administration, and it's under the Department of Homeland Security. And I worked as a TSO, which is an officer, and so I'm at the metal detector and I'm on the X-ray, and I'm protecting the country from you know, people who would do harm to it, you know. And I took the job very seriously, and I love the job, but I had to quit because there's something I love a little bit more, and that's music. So about 5 days ago, I told a little bit longer. I gave a little bit of notice. So I tried to be nice, but I told my boss, you know, I'm going on tour in Europe. And like, wow, like it's a big deal. It's a big deal to go to Europe for me. And I protected the country, and so, you know, I quit the job just for this tour. You know, I'm at 3 weeks tour, and I have no regrets whatsoever. The day job was good. I have actually still have the health insurance card in my pocket. You know, so I had health insurance, and I was able to go to the doctor if I was sick and all, and which is great, and I thank the government and the job for that, but it's not rock and roll, you know. I might not be able to go get healthy if I want to now, but I can play with my friends and be happy. Well, actually, I can tell you, I remember very well. I was 14 years old. My friend has a cheap guitar, a toy guitar almost, and he never uses it full of dust. So hey, let me borrow it. 14-year-old kid. I'm just gonna go learn some stuff. So I go on the computer, and obviously I don't know how to play whatsoever. And little by little, you know, I kind of teach myself this or that. Maybe a Beatles lick here that I love. Maybe Led Zeppelin. This is what I'm into at the time, 14 years old. You know, Led Zeppelin. Maybe Eddie Cochran. I liked Eddie Cochran when I was 14 years old. Maybe a blues lick like an Eric Clapton, you know, like that was a big deal for me. So like that's like a big deal. Just the simplest thing to me was a big deal back then. And so I keep continuing, sitting in my room all alone. Didn't have many friends apparently because I spent a lot of time. It seems like I practiced a hell of a lot more. I should be better, you know, than I am now. But
yeah, I started playing the piano when I was 12 years old. My mom brought me this little toy piano one day, and I started playing funny songs like Mary Had a Little Lamb and just little kid songs. And when I started learning these songs by myself, I got really excited. So one day I just, you know, I just kept playing and playing, and I kind of taught myself how to play. And then one day I heard Jerry Lee Lewis on the radio or on the CD or something, and I was like, wow, what kind of, that's really cool piano playing. What is that? And then, you know, as I looked and looked, I found out that it was rock and roll music. And that's what sparked my interest in music. And so yeah, I started playing piano when I was 12 years old. And I played for years. And then one day and then after that I found rockabilly music. And the upright bass attracted me. So I just basically bought a bass one day and just figured out how to play it. And here I am now, years later, you know, traveling and, you know, and recording and doing really cool things.
And now I feel like I've reached a point. I'm gonna sound like an asshole because I'm blowing my own trumpet here. I'm like, look at me. But I feel like I've developed my own style, and I'm excited about that. I feel like there's about 25 million people who can play better than me. But I feel like nobody does what I do, you know? I feel like when you see me playing, you know, obviously I'm drawing influences from just about anyone, you know, just about any guitar player. But when I play on stage, I feel like I'm Andrew Himmler, you know? I feel like, hey, that's Andrew Himmler, you know? I feel like someone might be acting a bit like me on stage somewhere. Hey, you're doing an Andrew Himmler thing. like obviously I'm getting way ahead of myself, and that hasn't happened. But I just feel like what I'm doing is is me. Yeah.
On this tour, this was a Heart-Shaped Noose tour because that's the name of our album, Heart-Shaped Noose. This was just a couple of days ago. It was fantastic. So we're just starting this tour right now, and it was great. We were happy to actually. Where was it actually now? It was in Germany, wasn't it? I think. I don't remember now. It was great. I mean, it was fun. I mean, we drank. I had some gin. The crowd was fantastic. It was in Germany. Where in Germany? Sorry, I don't remember so much anymore. Sorry, it's because I come to Europe every 3 weeks. I can come because of all the projects that I'm doing. But yes, the Heart-Shaped Noose tour, this one here, was great. The audience was fantastic, and the people were great. The food's always fantastic. Beer's always delicious. And we had a lot of fun, and we're just getting started, and we're having a great time. Well, we really are. It's been a great time. I love coming out here. It's like my second home. Not just Germany, but Europe overall is like my second home. A lot of great friends, a lot of great people.
There's actually an extreme. It's a very strange thing. It has a lot of commonalities, yet it has a lot of differences. And you're going to hear a different explanation from every single person you ask, because it's based on their own person's experience. But in Las Vegas, for instance, you go to a rockabilly show, and it's the same people, same 25 people, you know, and we're all good friends, and we drink and we have a good time like everybody else. But something about Europe, it's I don't know, maybe I'm biased because like it might just be the romanticism and the excitement of Louis coming all the way from California. He's coming all the way thousands of miles to Belgium. So for some reason when we plug in, we play, people just go nuts. Like the first time I did it, I was shocked. You know, the people are going crazy right now. Like I loved it. You know, people are going insane mad. Like, hell yeah, you know, like this is what I'm talking about in Europe. I've experienced moments of that in the United States, but usually there was a bunch of alcohol involved, you know? And so I've experienced moments, and you know, both countries can appreciate things. Yeah, the same rock and roll things. But there's something about Europe. I'm not sure if it's us or if it's just the Europeans just do it, I don't want to say better, but just more intensity, you know? More intensity perhaps.
The first time I came to Europe was probably in 2006 or 2005, I don't remember, and it was with Louis. And I was actually his last bass player in his old band called Little Louis and the Wild Teens. And yeah, it was back then. Since then, I think this is probably my 13th tour in Europe. But yeah, it was in 2006.
I sincerely think, I believe that as amazed as I am at this place, I think you'll be amazed like that at the United States, because it's not a shock. I mean, it is a shock, but it's just different, and different is good. I think the reason why it's so good is because I'm a musician. I like to show up at a place I've never been, people I've never seen, plug in my amp and play with my friends and see what the crowd thinks. And I don't really know what I'm going to do that night. I might go to a party, I might go right to sleep. I don't know. So here, I don't know what's around the next corner. I don't know what's down the street at all. I've never been inside that shop. Whereas at my home, I know that place, I've been to that store, I've been to that. Here I know nothing, and I feel like a baby, in a good way. I feel like a little child that's just, that's it. A little child. They're like, and they're playing with something that is so stupid to you. You know, like they're playing with a ruler or something that is for work, and you're like, why are you playing with that? But the child's never seen it, and he's amazed. You know, that's how I am with Europe.
Just being from Southern California, there's always a rock and roll show every weekend, or every 3 days a rock and roll show. But not all of them are busy, because there'll be 4 rock and roll shows in one night. I know it sounds like we're spoiled. You know, most people have like a rock and roll show a month, you know, once a month. We have them every weekend, sometimes during the weekend. We have 4 of them at the same time. So that's hard sometimes, because everybody seems to be competing with each other. One, we should just sort of have maybe, you know, one a week maybe, and have everybody together. So there's so many shows going on that everybody's spread away. So when you go to one show, it looks like not so much is going on, but really there's a lot going on. That's why there's, so everyone will have just a certain amount of people, you know, and so in a way it's a very good thing. There's always something to do, but in a way it's a hard thing, especially being in a band, because you're like, well, shit, you know, especially if on a record label, Wild Records, we have like 17 bands now on the label, 17 artists or bands. So one will be playing there that night, half an hour drive to the next place, it's another Wild Records band. So in a way we're almost competing with each other, which is strange, but so we're almost spoiled, and it sucks at the same time, you understand? And when we come here and like, no, we'll do a show here, and everybody comes because they're like, we haven't had anything in a couple of weeks. Well, that's great for us. Like, oh wow, that's fantastic. You know, like we come to a really good show. So that's a big difference there, I think. The crowd is just the crowds are great here. The crowds can be great there as well, if we have them all in one room at the same time.
I've been to Europe 5 times, but this trip, something about this trip is different, because we play large festivals, huge rockabilly festivals, which I fucking love. But the thing about me is you can have a party anywhere. You can have a party in your basement in Europe, in America, it's a party. But I'm getting a chance to travel and see the cities here. Or the festivals are a whole different experience. Like you know high rockabilly? Okay, I fly into Barcelona. As soon as I land, I get on a bus, I go to Calafell. As soon as I get to Calafell, I go to my hotel and I sleep for 6 hours because I'm exhausted from the plane. And then I wake up, and then I go to the big gym, the big huge theater or whatever, and I do sound check. And then I do sound check, and then I go with my friends to a little bar that's really cool, and we get a few drinks, and I'm enjoying the beach, and then I'm tired, and I go back to sleep, and then I wake up and I play the show. And then I go to bed, and then I get on the plane, and I go home. You know? So I saw Spain, but did I really see Spain? No, you know, I didn't really get to. I've been to Spain twice, but I haven't scratched the surface. I haven't eaten real food. I haven't done anything because, you know, it's work, and I'm not complaining. Believe me, I'm not complaining, but I'm appreciating this trip because I'm just getting to do what I want to do. I get to walk down the street and go by a candy bar. I have time. You know, we have a show every night, but we have days off and we have time. And anyway, so before this, very quick, go to show, go home. Here, I get to take my time. And Europe has always been amazing to me. It's just even more amazing now.
I think cars are. I think these hot rods, rat rods, the custom culture. Car scene is absolutely brilliant. It's fucking beautiful. I don't have the patience for it, unfortunately. You know, I kind of, the guys will agree with me that I'm very sort of spontaneous and just move around. So I wish I had more patience to actually be able to really work on a car. Cars
And rock and roll are brothers. You know, there are good cars, there are bad cars. There's good rock and roll, there's bad rock and roll. It just so happens that the scene I'm in has good cars and it has good rock and roll. You know, so me personally, I don't own a car. I'm not a motorhead. I'll be honest, but there's nothing like driving being driven in an old car or driving an old car. I appreciate it, and I think probably the reason why I'm not a car person is I don't have the money. You know, but I love sitting in a Cadillac Eldorado. You know, I love sitting in a car that someone worked really hard on. Someone who found the parts in a garage. Someone who, you know, struggled to put this car together. Now it runs well and looks great. You know, it could be a Chrysler, it could be a Plymouth, it could be basically any old car that has the spirit of so many people that have driven it before in it and have seen so many things. You know, just like Europe, it's a rolling piece of history, and it's a matter of it can't be described because I'm not a motorhead, but it's like a matter of just intense pride in not in a bad way, in a good way, and just having fun, you know, being with friends, and driving fucking fast, you know?
Well, I don't have a car. What's it called? When I was a teenager, I was like 18 years old. I did have a '51 Chevy, which I was trying to get into all of that stuff, and then unfortunately I had to get rid of it because I couldn't afford to maintain it and all kinds of things. I was really young, but I tell you this, dude, I do appreciate the custom car culture. I think it's really cool that people have been keeping it alive since the '50s, you know, and every time I go to a car show, I'm like, wow, this is awesome. Like all these, you know, all the chop tops and like all the custom work that people like do on cars. It takes a lot for all these guys to make these cars look great, you know. And I do appreciate it. I think it's awesome, you know.
Well, I got a '64 Cadillac and I love it, but I'm not a mechanic. I appreciate. I don't know all about, you know, the different everything. I just love the cars. I love all about everything, the look about all that era, and I think it all goes together. You know, the bikes, cars, the clothes, the music, architecture, everything, furniture, everything goes. I like the whole look of it all, you know. But I bought a car 10 years ago when I moved to America, and when you move to America, of course, you want a big car to fit in with the Hollywood style, the palm trees and the sunshine. So I bought a big, massive white Cadillac, a Cadillac Sedan DeVille, 1964, pillarless. A beautiful car. It looks like just come out of the factory. All what do they call that? Pearl white with white leather seats and big fat white wheel tires, and I've kept it perfect. It looks just like it was bought brand new. It looks like the kind of car that Frank Sinatra would get out of if he was going to a gig. And there's lots of car shows in all around California, actually. A lot of hot rods. People, you know, they know all about it. But I'm not a mechanic. I just drive it. But I do appreciate that, you know, the car I have got. But the cars are like women. When you've got one, that's the most beautiful one. You appreciate everybody else's, but your one is the best one because that's why you're with it. So yeah, that's kind of funny how men think of their cars. Sometimes even more than they like their women sometimes. But I don't mind. I agree with that. I think that's a wonderful thing.
But I think it's a very important sort of scene for what we're doing because it involves the sort of beauty of the music, the culture, the everything. Just like we're so involved in I'm so involved in the music, and they're involved in the cars, and somehow we combine that because see. Today we just drove in Gutierrez, actually a beautiful custom car, and there was some beauty there, you know, and he's telling me going like, I like your records, and I was like, well, I like your fucking car. This car's fantastic. And we did a photo shoot in his garage with some cars and some motorcycles. I was like, that's brilliant. It's the fact that they love and they're passionate about something that's almost blended together, even though it's not the same thing. For me, it's the records and the music and the guitars and the basses and this, but it's the passion that I like about the car scene. They're very passionate, and that's fantastic.
Oh man, all I can say is keep on drinking, keep on partying, keep on rocking.
Hello, Dad. Hello, Misty. Watch out for Belgian beer. It's much stronger than the shit in America. Okay? 2 beers and done. All right? Have a good night.
It's a funny thing about living your life because lots of people try to tell you what you should do at certain ages and when you should get married at this age and you don't make it unless you get yourself a wife or you settle down. But I think you live your life in your head and remember that you only live once, so you should always be doing exactly what you want, and then I think at the end of it you will have no regrets, and that's the way to have an enjoyable life. You should remember one time and that's it.
Well, I'd like to toast all of you and thank you very much for the support. And we're very happy to be anywhere, and it's all because of you guys. So, cheers to you, Sante to you, pros, kampai, salud, to a lifetime of orgasms.